should I take a multivitamin every day? That's the question.
It's kind of up to you.
Really?
No. Let's talk about the evidence.
Okay.
Welcome to Talking with Docs. I'm Dr. Brad Weenie.
I'm Dr. Paul Zalza.
Okay.
So the question we're going to address today is, should everyone be taking a multivitamin? There are tons of them out there.
Yes, big business.
Big industry. I think in 2017, it was like a $23 billion industry.
Okay.
Projected to be over $100 billion in 2030.
It's like online gaming.
Well, is that big a deal?
I think it might be bigger. It's horrifying.
Do you do that?
No.
Me neither. No. There's a lot of them though.
There are a lot.
But in terms of multivitamins,
yes.
The question, it's such a big industry, so there must be something there, right? Must be good for you. Isn't that always the way? Doesn't the pharmaceutical industry profit always correlate with something that's good for our health?
No. And I think you actually bring up a good point, because a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, you know what? Big pharma, you're horrible, but I love taking all my supplements. Just so that you know, a lot of the supplements and supplement companies are owned by big pharma.
There you go.
So you can decide how you give them your money, but they're probably going to get it one way or another. So we're going to try to say, hey, what's worth it? Not only for your money, but also for potential risks that are provided or the benefits.
All right. So today's question is just the multivitamin.
Just multivitamin.
The multivitamins come in different preparations. There's tons of different ones out there, but usually there's some form of vitamins, A, B, C, D, E, K. They got a bunch of vitamins in there. They got some minerals in there, right? You got your calcium, zinc, magnesium, some sort of combination, or plus or minus some of those, but of one tab, all this stuff, and the concentrations of those vitamins and minerals are very, very, very low.
And that was the thing for me that always didn't make a lot of sense. It's like, oh, you're taking this one pill that has like 3% of this, 4% of this of your RDA.
They're very
it didn't make a lot of sense to me why it would possibly work.
They're very low. But
spoiler, there are some groups that can benefit. Just so that you can hang around till the end. There are some people that benefit.
Well, we haven't told them that they don't benefit.
Right. I'm just saying it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So should everyone be taking?
Okay.
All right. First of all, there was a good study, recent study that looked at a bunch of people, and they asked them, how do you feel? Do you feel healthier taking the multivitamin?
I know the answer to this question.
And then they correlated it to actual objective measurements of if they're healthier, like less incidence of cancer, less incidence of chronic disease. And it turns out that, taking a vitamin makes you feel healthier. Right? I think about 30% of the people said they felt healthier.
Which is interesting, that number.
Yes. It's a magic number.
It is a magic number, what's called the placebo effect. About 30% of people, if you give them something, tell them that it's going to help them, and then ask them afterwards, 3 out of 10 people are going to feel better.
Yeah. So
which is interesting.
Oddly enough, that perception of feeling better and healthier didn't correlate with objective measures of feeling better or healthier. Okay, so they didn't find a lower incidence of chronic disease or things like that.
Yeah. Oh wait, before we go any further, leave a comment if you take a multivitamin, what your thoughts are, if you think it's a sham, leave a comment.
Yeah. And if you don't like looking at the bags under my eyes, why don't you listen to us on the podcast? Okay. So that kind of explains why this is such a big industry. That's why people are using multivitamins, even if we can't really prove that they're good for everyone to take, because everyone who takes them, or a good chunk of the people who take them, feel better taking them.
Right.
Okay. Having said that, let's look at, did you find any evidence for the average person, middle-aged person, taking a multivitamin for reducing the chance of dying, overall mortality?
No.
Incidence of cardiovascular disease.
So heart attack, stroke? No.
Dying from heart attack or stroke?
No.
Cancer?
Let's keep it going with no.
Okay. Any chronic disease at all?
I would say for the average healthy person that has a relatively healthy diet, a multivitamin does not provide you protection against those conditions.
Okay, fair enough. That's sort of what the evidence is saying now. The evidence says you'll feel better and feel better taking one, feel like you're healthier. However, objectively we can't measure.
And so what I would say though is that because these aren't typically randomized control trials that are run for decades and decades, it doesn't mean that they can't help you. We've talked about this before. If a study says that taking supplement A does not prevent disease B, it doesn't necessarily mean that's 100% true. It just means it hasn't been proven. So people get really angry in the comments. Sometimes in the videos, we did a video about something and we said, hey, this hasn't been shown to work. And people are like, well, it works for me. And I'm like, A, your anecdote is not evidence. That's the first thing. But B, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means someone hasn't proved that it's worked yet. So you can make a decision for yourself.
And that's a great point. We just can't prove that it works yet. But there is no evidence yet saying it will. But there are some people who there is good evidence that, this does help you. Taking multivitamin is strongly recommended.
Okay.
Let's look at those groups of individuals. The first one that I would say is pregnancy.
Okay.
In pregnancy, and I'm not an OBGYN by chance, and I've never been pregnant. However, I do know that there is good evidence to support taking a multivitamin, especially one with over 400 units of folic acid, is important to do during pregnancy.
Right. Primarily to reduce the risk of neural tube defects.
Yes, in the infant.
Proven, not negotiable. This is very beneficial. And I think the other thing about pregnancy is that it's such a unique condition, or you're literally growing another human inside of you. Your needs go up, and sometimes you cannot meet them through your diet.
I think there's even some evidence to show that it might reduce the incidence of pediatric cancers in the child if the mother takes the.
Okay.
So definitely that group, there's good evidence to say, you should be taking some kind of vitamin, especially folic acid.
Okay. Number 2 for me is older patients.
Yeah.
So as we get older, a bunch of things happen. Our ability to absorb nutrients from our food goes down. Often the amount of calories that we take in, our appetite goes down. Our ability to chew our food reduces. So a lot of things are kind of working against you to prevent you from getting the vitamins and minerals that you need. So older patients, there is benefit that they might.
Yeah. My definition of older goes up every year too.
Yeah.
Every year that I age, my definition of what's older goes up. What are you talking about when you say older individual?
So I turned 55 this year, so it's like 56 and above.
Okay.
Older is 1 year older than me.
Brad's age plus 1 is older. Right, so I agree, older individuals. Yeah. I would also say people with a limited or restrictive diet of some kind.
Why look at me?
I'm not looking at you. I'm thinking about you, but I'm not looking at you. Because if you restrict your diet for voluntary reasons, or because you have to have some dietary restrictions because of a medical condition or something like that, then yes, a multivitamin makes sense, because you can't get all those vitamins you need from the whole foods that you're eating.
Right. So I'm a plant-based eater. And so for that group of people, particularly B12 is probably one of the biggest concerns, because normally B12 is made by bacteria that's in the soil that then is passed on to the animals that people consume. So that's how they get their B12. Having said that, there is some concern that with large-scale farming and antibiotics given to animals, that the soil has less of those bacteria, so then subsequently less B12, so that the animals actually are having less B12. So even as an animal product eater, you might have B12 issues as well. But I'd say B12 for sure. And yes, I'd say if you're more restricted, you have to be more intentional about what you eat and more cognizant that a supplement might be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk about older people, pregnant people, limited diet people, Brad people, and what else do we got?
Okay, so number 4 is people with formal malabsorption syndromes.
If you have some sort of medical condition that does not let your GI tract absorb the nutrients that you need, then a multivitamin may be helpful in that sense.
Yeah, so maybe you've had surgery, maybe you've had part of your colon removed, maybe you have a gastrointestinal condition that prevents absorption because of an abnormal lining of your colon. There's a host of them.
And the last one I'd say is, if you do not have access to food for various financial constraints, geographic constraints, or whatever it is, if you do not have food availability that allows you to eat these variety of foods, then a multivitamin may help you as well. And I think we have to say right now, I know you feel the same way, we strongly feel that it's better to get your nutrients, your vitamins, your minerals from whole foods rather than trying to get it from a pill.
Agreed.
By far, it's way better to do that. And all the guidance that we see from health organizations say get your nutrients from your food instead of a pill. But in those 5 situations, it might be beneficial to take a multivitamin.
And to your point, I think for 2 reasons. One, because I think it's often absorbed better, but also our bodies have a better way to regulate it when it comes in as food, rather than taking mega doses of supplements.
Yeah, and we don't fully understand it, but like a vitamin that's present in a whole food might get absorbed better because of all the other things in that whole food than just taking just that one chemical.
Right.
Having said all that, I take a multivitamin.
I knew you were going to say
I do. I know that's one of the, I don't take a ton of supplements, stuff like that, but multivitamin a day is one of the things I do.
Yeah.
Our ophthalmologist we had once said, they recommend for the eye.
Yes. So vitamin A, and that's actually, maybe a lens into a future video all about vitamin A, but yes, can cause dry eye, can even lead to permanent blindness and loss of night vision if you have vitamin A deficiency.
Do you take a multivitamin?
I do not, but to be honest, I was researching vitamin A yesterday, and I'm not sure.
But too much vitamin A is toxic.
That's right.
You gotta be careful.
It's a fine balance.
Multivitamins are safe to say, like we said, that the amount of stuff in them is very low, so it's hard to get toxicity if you take it as recommended on the bottle. But there are some vitamins that if you take too much of aren't good for you, especially some of the ones that are not water soluble, A, D, E, K. Those are fat solubles, but those can accumulate in your body, so you have to be careful with those.
I know. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to our channel, share it with a friend, leave a comment about your experience with multivitamin.
Let us know if you take a multivitamin. I'd be real curious to see.
There you go.
And how long you've been doing it. And if you feel better taking one.
You do.
Because there's a 30% chance.
We're telling you that you do feel better.
Now you just increase that 30% to like 80%. Remember, you are in charge of your own health and what multivitamins you take.
I'll see you next time.